All right, welcome to This Life, a podcast by Mayorca Media. I'm your host, Felix Mayorca. Today, I am doing a solo podcast. Why am I doing that? Because sometimes that's what I do. And it's actually really uncomfortable being in here, setting up all these lights and making it look cool, and then talking to the camera. I've done it before, and I don't know why today it just kind of feels awkward. As always, we're here live at the Local Hub Studios in Escondido, California on Grand Avenue. Right now, they are having a 50% off 1 month subscription if you sign up in August. So go to their Instagram, Local Hub. I think it's localhub_esco. And their website is localhubsd.com. If you're a student, if you're a remote worker, if you're a self-starter, you can have a place to work. It's really fun. They have coffee. They have beer sometimes in the fridge. I love working here. I get a lot more done. I hate working at home, and this is my home base now. So today, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I just kind of wanted to test this out, see if it goes anywhere. But I mean, I guess I can start with, for those of you who don't know who I am, like I said before, my name is Felix. I am a photographer / cinematographer. I shoot events, weddings. Mostly I do content creation for people's social media, for people's businesses. I own my own business, which is Mayorca Media, and I'm looking to branch out and put a little bit more of me into my brand. That's why I started this podcast, so I can have an avenue to talk to people, to you guys and gals. I thought about doing this years ago, but I don't think I was in the right place mentally to actually start a podcast and be able to talk about anything. Again, these are all pretty much my opinions. I'm going to do some research for it and whatnot, and I'll have different interesting guests on, but for the most part, it's just opinion based. I'll try to have some professionals on here so they can talk about, mental health and coping. But for the most part, these are stories coming from me, someone who has had depression and anxiety throughout my teen and my adult life. It never really goes away. For those of you that don't know, depression is kind of, and this is how I see, or this is how I explain it to people that never know, that kind of ask me like, what's it like? Depression is like having a cloud over your head. Now, sometimes that cloud disperses and it lets sunlight in, and you're having a good day. Other times that cloud is kind of foggy and it's letting some sunlight in, but it's just kind of stale, and your day feels kind of stale. Other days it's raining and it's pouring and there's thunder, and you just don't feel like getting out of bed, and you feel like calling out of work and not talking to anybody. And for some people, that's every single day. For others who have it, it's some days, it's ups and downs. For me, it all started, and I've already spoken about this, and I don't want to sound like I'm like repeating myself, but it started when I was in high school. I was really depressed my freshman year, and throughout high school, I tried to keep myself busy with sports. I tried to be in clubs, and I didn't try, but I was in sports. I was in clubs, and that's where my anxiety would come in when I was busy. And when I wasn't busy, I was depressed, and I just thought that's how life was. Fast forward to graduating college, and I hit kind of my own rock bottom where I couldn't find a job. I was looking for different jobs for about 2 years, and I wasn't getting promoted at my current, or the job that I was at, which I was at for about 4 or 5 years. And I felt like I deserved it because I've always believed in hard work, and hard work gets you places. So it was really upsetting when I didn't get anything. So I just wanted someone to give me a chance, and when it came to that, it felt like no one really gave me a chance at all. So obviously, you go on a downward spiral. And I know this is probably the most privileged sounding thing. Like, I couldn't find a job. But I had a college degree, which is what people tell you makes you successful. It helps you get a job. It's pretty much the entryway to adulthood. And when you just graduate college and you can't find a job right away and you're just kind of struggling and all you can find is part-time jobs, you kind of tend to doubt yourself and ask yourself, was college worth it? I worked 3 jobs throughout college. I did it for my parents pretty much. And I was very proud of myself. But when it didn't come to any results, then I was like, this is terrible. Anyway, fast forward to last year, 2019. I actually, July 31st was the day I said, I'm quitting my job and I am going to start videography, photography, cinematography full time. And that is what I did. And it was one of the scariest plunges I've ever made. And there were 100% so many doubts. I doubted myself way too much. And I think the passion for what I was doing is the only thing that kept me continuing to do it. So I stuck with it. And looking back now, honestly, it was the and this is going to sound corny and cheesy or whatever, but it was probably the best decision I've ever made. And along the way, I learned different things. I started taking antidepressants and they worked for me. And I started going to therapy and that worked for me as well. And I'm completely blessed and lucky. And I've had a good support system around me. And I know a lot of people aren't that fortunate, but I had amazing people around me. I still have amazing people around me. And that was one of the biggest things. But something I actually want to talk about today is mindset. So if you ever find yourself in one of those holes where you're just like, I'm lost, I have no idea what I'm doing, you get in those kind of negative spaces. If you ever find yourself in that, try to have a growth mindset about it. Now, I learned this when I was, where was I working? I was working at an after school program and we had a training, and everyone always hated trainings. I always loved trainings just because I made it my own, and like I got to see like what other people at other schools looked like, and it was kind of like you get to see the whole program in one picture. And there was this guy, super annoying guy, but what he was saying made a lot of sense. He talked about growth mindset and he put it in terms of kids. Growth mindset is, in a sentence, is pretty much, I can't do it yet. So the example that he used was, there was a kid trying to shoot a basket and he kept trying to shoot the basket and he was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And the guy went up to him and said, what do you mean you can't do it? And he's like, I can't do it. And he was frustrated, and the little kid was crying. Obviously it's a little kids cry, but oops. Sorry guys, that was my phone. He was just upset. He was in that mindset that as adults we get in. You lost your job, or you can't find a job, or maybe you're just having a super long day at work or school, and you get in this kind of dark cloud of negativity. And what the after school program guy told the kid was, you can't do it yet. He said, if you keep trying, you'll eventually make it. So then he said, the overhand isn't working. So why don't we try, underhand, which in other words, granny shot. So the kid tried it that way and he still wasn't making it. So then he said, okay, let's move over to this smaller hoop or this lower hoop. The kid made it. After like 50 tries, he finally made it. And he was so excited. And then he kept shooting it and he kept making it and he kept making it and he kept making it. And then a year later he came back and he told the guy, hey, check it out. I finally learned how to do it overhand. Obviously he got a little bit taller and that's beside the point. But the lesson here was, you can't do it yet. I can't find a job yet. I haven't, my relationship isn't going well yet. Maybe you have some stuff to work on. Maybe you have to find that smaller hoop. Maybe you have to shoot underhand. Maybe you have to go back to the drawing board and say, what I've been doing so far hasn't been working. I'm going to put it back in kind of in my situation looking for a job. I was a history major. I was trying to be a teacher. And all of my experiences were with kids. So that made it a little bit harder to really get a job in anything else that didn't involve kids. And that's what I was told over and over again. So then I asked for more experience. I asked for budgeting experience. I asked for event planning experience. I was working for city government at the time, and that's such a wide variety of you have such a wide variety of jobs. I was doing summer camp, but I was also budgeting for it. I was planning everything. I was doing a lot more to diversify myself. It still didn't work out. But now that I look back on where I am now, I have to do contracts for different clients. I have to do invoices for different clients. I have to budget for my own business. While it didn't really help me find a quote unquote job, like a big boy job is what I call them, a full-time job. While it didn't help me with that, it helped me with what I'm doing now. And just having that tenacity of, I can't do that yet, it really changes your mindset. And it also, when you look back on different experiences you've had, you can pat yourself on the back. 3 years ago, when I was still doing this on the side and not really consistently, and by this I mean, cinematography and photography, for me it was just kind of a hobby that I would get paid for. And I finally got the chance to shoot a wedding. Big shout out to Lorraine. And she hired me for her wedding. And I was extremely unprepared. I had just right then and there, I was at the point where I love doing video or cinematography. And I say cinematography because for me, videography is just shooting video and you're done. But what I do is I shoot the video, I edit it, I sound design it, I color it. There's a lot more to it. So cinematography. Anyway, I had never shot a wedding before. I had very little experience with weddings, and the only things I knew were from YouTube. I bought a camera and I bought a lens, like fancier ones that I already had. And I bought this cheap little stabilizer, but I didn't know about audio. I didn't know you had to have audio. And I just had like a microphone on top of the camera. Anyway, that's beside the point. I show up to the wedding and I'm extremely nervous, and I'm just like, I'm shaky, and I'm trying to calm myself down. I couldn't sleep for like 2 weeks leading up to the wedding. And I remember just kind of feeling sick, and like, this is still when I had undiagnosed anxiety and depression. And I was just like, I was having panic attacks every other day leading up to the wedding. So when I got to the wedding, I was doing my thing, and there was a photographer there. I want to say his name so bad. But I won't do that. I'm not trying to expose people. Ask me in person and I'll let you know. I'm just kidding. Maybe. And this guy said, my name is blank, and I'm the photographer. And I was like, actually, no, I approached him. I was like, hey, how's it going, man? I'm Felix. And he was just like, hey, what's up? I'm so-and-so. And I was like, cool. Okay, so I'm just, are you done shooting in here? And he looked at me kind of like, what the hell is this dude's problem? So the bride goes in to change. We go outside, and I'm sitting there talking to this guy, and I go, is this do you do this? Is this is this what you do? And he's like, yeah, I'm a wedding photographer. And I was like, oh, cool. And he's like, what about you? And I was like, this is actually my first wedding. And he looked at me and he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, I've never done a wedding video before. And he was like, yeah, we do. Well, my company does photos and videos, but they didn't want video from me. So, and I think that's what pissed him off. And I completely forgot about that until now, until I'm breaking the whole day down. But he already gave me just that vibe of like, oh God, you don't know what you're doing. So he started the day with, I'll help you out and I'll give you some direction so you know where to go and what shots to get. And it started off that way. But throughout the day, he started to boss me around. And he was getting aggravated and he was yelling at the bride, and he could not keep his cool. And I remember sitting there as well once we got to the venue, and he said, do you have like a sound recorder or anything? And I was like, no, just my camera. Yeah. And also I was like broke back then. I pretty much spent all my money on the camera and the lens. And he was like, he looked at me and went, well, it's going to be a pretty good music video, I guess. And he just kind of taunted me. And that made me feel so bad. It wasn't even like, if he did that now, I would be like, okay, dude, fuck you. Like, and then move on. And just like, I'm the type of person that if someone doubts me or someone, talks crap, I'll take it personally. But I won't stop there. Like, I'll make sure, oh, you're saying I'm not good enough? I'm going to show you that I'm better than you think I am. But back then, I didn't really have this mindset. So that kind of brought me down. And once the wedding was going, he just got worse and worse and was bossing me around and treating, just kind of treating everyone like crap. Like he was running the show and he was just on edge the whole time. I have no idea what this dude's problem was, but he started drinking a little bit and getting a little more, I wouldn't say aggressive, but he was being a dick. Like he was being a straight up dick. I'm not going to beat around the bush. And I ended up leaving, and the whole day I was feeling fine, and that was my anxiety. And then as soon as I got in the car, I just cried all the way home. And I really have no idea, because this guy didn't really, what he said, I was just like, all right, dude, fuck you. But that was pretty much what it was. It was my anxiety and my depression. My anxiety would be my highs, and then the depression would be the lows, and it would be the lowest of the lows. I was driving home and I was extremely upset. And lately I've been thinking about that day, because I'm shooting a wedding on Saturday. It's going to be August 8th, I believe. Today's the 6th. And that's, I think, my 7th wedding. My wedding films have gotten way better. I now have audio on them. And it's honestly because of that guy. It's because he 100% doubted me. And he didn't have that growth mindset of, hey, you're just starting out. This is a hard gig, but I'm sure you'll do great. He didn't give me any pointers. He just bossed me around and kind of had that, like, there can only be one, sheriff in town. And I don't understand why people have that mindset, but I will never forget him. And I will never forget him because, and this is probably really unhealthy, but I always think to myself, oh, you think I can't do it? Let me show you that I can do it better. That's where that's where, I'm not making any sense. That's where the growth mindset comes in, because I think, well, maybe I can't do a good wedding video this time because I don't have the resources. Let me get the resources. Next time will be 100% better. It's always going to get better. When you have that growth mindset, it's always going to get better. And that's something that I practice and I preach myself, is having a growth mindset. I don't have the money right now. What are you going to do about it? If you sit there and sulk and worry, and the number one thing, honestly, is money, because I've been in the same situation before. I've been in that, well, I don't have the money. Like, I can't pay for that. I don't have the money. Well, I don't have the money yet. How am I going to get the money? By working harder, by making cold calls, by talking to friends, by running ads, there are solutions to every problem. And I know a lot of you are going to be like, well, I'm not going to lie. I've had a lot of help from, my parents and friends, but I've been grateful for it. I'm not going to sit here and say, I've done it all myself. For the most part, my mindset, my, goals and all of that have helped me, but I have had that amazing support system. That is really big. And it's big because my support system also has a growth mindset. It's important to surround yourself with people that think like you. If you have those friends who are talking about the old days and just kind of negative all the time, and it's okay to sometimes be negative and say, I'm going to vent and I'm going to just bitch and all this stuff. But it's important to understand, kind of ground yourself and say, well, it's really not that bad. And that all starts with mindset. So I think this is going to be a short podcast because I have things to do. No, I'm just kidding. I wanted to just touch on mindset. And this is, I guess you can say, this is dipping your toe into what we'll be talking about in this podcast and further episodes. I will be having voice memo days where people can ask questions. People can send me a voice memo and say, hey, Felix, I have a question about reaching out to people with depression, or I have a question about how you cope on your bad days, or how you get through your bad days, or maybe you want some advice. Maybe you're in like a toxic friendship and you ask you want to ask, how do I get out of this toxic friendship? I will be having those days because I want this podcast to be about all of you who are watching and listening, and also my guests, and a little bit less about me. Yes, I'll have some days where I'll have the days where my brain moves really fast and my mouth doesn't move fast enough. Anyway, I'll have those days where I'll do a solo podcast and I'll tie it back to me, because I need those examples to explain, just like this mindset thing. I need those examples to explain what I'm thinking. And that's the way I know how to do it. So if you have any questions, or just want to reach out to me, shoot me a DM. Go give me a follow on Instagram at Mayorca Media, Mayorca Media. Make sure you subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review. Let me know if there's anything you want me to change, or something you don't like, or something you do like. Let's not keep it, too negative. I'm really sensitive. But yeah. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you on the next episode of This Life.